Or hey everyone. I come today and basically I just want to get this message off my shoulders. I've been carrying it for about 3 months now, and I think it's about time for it to be released. The spirit's been killing me about over the last 2-3 days that I need to go ahead and go and let everybody know at least what I found. And I think those that are looking for it, they'll be the ones that find this video. I don't even expect too many people to actually do the homework because I'm not going to do all the homework for you. So what I will do is I'll put some text up and I'll show you some of the books and stuff that I went into to find what the Lord has showed me about the releasing from 1619 to 2019. And I know we've been talking about it for probably about at least about a good 2.5 years, if not 3 years. That you can just feel it in your spirit that it was coming, it was time. People like Gat has been talking about it, and even probably like 2 years ago, I think it was Nania had come out with a video, and she had, I wouldn't say totally proved it, but like she put it out there as a high watch. But so I just prayed about it, and I asked the Lord to just show me that yes, this time is coming, and show me in a way that nobody else can really show me, and just prove to me that this 400 years was coming. So that's basically what I want to give you today to Genesis 15, thinking, hey, this is Abraham, this is where the story is, and so many people on YouTube were starting there themselves, but I just felt in the spirit that, it was leading me to Mark 3. And basically from Mark 3, what I had to learn, my lesson from Mark 3, was honestly who was the actual strong man. In Mark 3, you'll read the chapter and you'll see where Yeshua was trying to heal someone, actually save someone on the Sabbath day. And immediately they said that he was doing it by Beelzebub. But Yeshua says you can't enter the strong man's house unless you bind the strong man. And I've read that and I've heard it many times, and quickly what I think of is that you got to go into that house and bind the strong man. So who is the strong man? Or bind, if you're even thinking spiritually, you want to think that you got to bind Satan. But through the message, Yeshua was actually talking about binding the spirit. God is actually the strong man. And in that chapter, you actually notice where he quickly turns his attention to, the disciples, and explaining to blasphemy by what they're saying, because the Lord is the strong man. So that's something that is very important. You gotta get that understanding that the Lord is actually the strong man who he's talking about. And so from there, from Mark 3, then the Lord, it took me to Genesis, was it 22, another twin flame book. And in there, everyone is pretty much familiar with that, where Abraham is about to sacrifice Isaac. But in that story, the biggest part of that chapter was the ram. And I had always asked questions many years. My dad's, dead and gone. But I remember even as a kid asking, if that story is supposed to be a resemblance as to what Yeshua was going to do for us on the cross, why didn't he use a lamb? Well, God has showed me that the ram was used because the ram is actually the strong man. If you go to blueletter.com, you can use your strong concordance, and you will see when you look at the word itself that a ram is actually the strong man. Genesis 15, and I love the way the chapter opened up, where the Lord says that that he's the reward. So from the beginning of that chapter, the Lord is letting you know that this is a work, or this is something that he is going to do. So later, when he creates the covenant with Abraham, darkness comes. We all know that's the mother. The same darkness that shows up at the cross at the 6th hour And there's many other places. Not even going to go argue that point. It's proven and done that that is the mother, Holy Spirit, wisdom that shows up. And the Lord tells Abraham to get different animals. Again, if you read the chapter, you'll find that there was actually a total of 5. 3 of those animals, the heifer, the goat, and the ram, God specifically asked for those to be at 3 years. And the dove and the pigeon, he didn't even give an age to. So what came to me in the spirit was that each of those years were 1,000 years. So when I added those up, obviously there were 9 years, but then I also felt in the spirit that it was actually supposed to be divided, because Abraham divided each of the animals and laid them next to each other. So from there you would get 4,500 years. So with 4,500 years, and what we're actually talking about today was the releasing from 1619 to 2019. So I just from 2019 started going back and going back further, and until I got to the year 2,481. So it came to me that, this is what I'm getting in my spirit. This is what the Lord assured me. I did the math. Can I take this to the internet and then find out, what the Bible timelines are out there on the internet? So after I did that, the first one I pulled up was Bible Hub / timeline. Bible Hub / timeline. And when I found the Abraham story, they actually had it at 2081. So yeah, it wasn't a pinpoint of my 2,481, but I found it awful ironic that the 400 years that we're talking about right now, from 1619 to 2019, that 400 years would come up. So is it like the Lord saying, like, yes, you found the 400? Or I would even say they have to, at this point, to me, in my spirit, that they need to go ahead and correct the timeline. That's how strongly I said it. Was just very, very ironic that they have 2081, and from the math that I did before I even went to the internet, was 2,481. And most of those, if you do go check online and looking for biblical timelines, they're all going to tell you that they're faulty. All of them are faulty. And that's not even the disclaimer. What I'm trying to do right now is a disclaimer, because I know 2,481 is correct to me. But they tell you that it's faulty because a lot of times in the Bible, if you go through the names and the births and stuff, you actually don't get a month or anything. It'll just say, it may tell you a year. So from that point, like they say, that every time a name is mentioned in a birth, you could be up to 364 days off every time. So I think the 241 is on point. And so since we got the message from the 240, the 2,481, that's BC, I then got in the spirit that each of those 3 animals were actually 1,500 years in the works that the Lord was actually doing. So again, that number, like all of it was like just numbers all over the place, with the from the 9,009 being in the ending, and then the 4,500, you're putting the 4 to 5 together, you still got 9. But then the Lord is breaking it down into 1,500, with the 15 being the 555. We know that's the mother. The Lord is still all over this. So that's Mary, and we know Mary metaphysically is still wisdom. So you can see that the Lord just all the way through this. The Lord was showing me that everything that that she was going to be doing was going to be 1,500 years. So I decided, like, let me go back from 2,481 and work my way forward and see what every 1,500 years, if there's something significant enough that I can say, like, yes, this is definitely the Lord's doing, or the Lord's put a stamp on this. So from Abraham, the God giving, making the covenant with Abraham to 1500 years, you come to Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is given a prophecy against Jerusalem. And Ezekiel 33, the master book, you will find that it's just like God is just picking right up right where he left Genesis 15, where he's talking about Abraham and his righteousness all the way through it. And there's just no way that you can miss that. That book probably could have been placed right there in Genesis itself. I was also led into Ezekiel 34, which would be 7. So then from there, you'll find within that chapter, the Lord is actually talking about what he was going to do all the way back to the covenant of each and every one of those 3 eras, you want to say, of 1500 years, what he was going to do. It was basically the heifer, and it was 1500 years of the Hebrews playing the heifer, the good heifer or the bad heifer, however you want to say it. The next 1500 years of separating the sheep from the goat, and then the last 1500 years, which we're actually in now, was binding the strong man, because the last one, the third one, was the ram. And we know that the dove is the, wisdom, that's the spirit, and the pigeon is Hebrew. So that's the Hebrew. So the Lord basically what is showing you is that he's bringing everything into one. So like I said, if you read Ezekiel 34, he tells you about the separating the cattle from the cattle, and the sheep from the goat, and how he's doing everything. This guy that's performing all this, you want to say good, bad, however you want to put it, God is always in control. And then another 1500 years later, I actually had to go online to find that, because it wasn't like you're going to find much of that any of that in the Bible. But it was 1519 that I come to. Again, 555, 1, 9, and 5, that's 15. So that's mom's stamp again. And what was happening in 1519, where the 2 churches were actually coming back together, the East and the West, and their differences at that time were the deity of Yeshua, because was he actually God or deity on the cross, and how can he actually suffer as deity on the cross? But the other one was Mary, actually the mother of God. Should they be saying that Mary was the mother of God? But Catholics has known for years that, again, Mary metaphysically is wisdom. You just have to slow it down and think about what you're saying. So if you go to the book of John, it says nothing was created without him. So basically, Yeshua is, in everything that's living. So if Mary gave birth to him, she would be the mother of all living. And outside of the 2 churches coming back together, there was also another group that was being brought into the fold. That another thing that the Lord was just putting their stamp on, like, yes, as I'm tracking through from 2,481, going to Ezekiel, and now here I am at 1519. The 2 churches come back together. They're fighting what they were fighting over as far as coming back together, and then the other group was a group of people that were Egyptian that were called the Mawesh. That's Mawesh. You can find that on Wikipedia. But the nickname for Mawesh was Ma. The M-A. It's the Ma people. And another thing is that these people were known to have very long hair, and especially from the hair that was from their temples, which they braided. They put feathers in it and tied both sides up into the knot that's on their forehead. Over their head, at the top of their head. So anyone that knows or seen pictures of the Ark of the Covenant knows what they're actually doing. It's just a picture of the angels with their wings going back toward each other with these Mawesh people. So our next 1500 from that 1519 would bring us to the 2019. So, I mean, anybody else is welcome to go do the homework. Go through the books that I've given you. That's Mark 3, Genesis 15, Genesis 22, Ezekiel 33, and Ezekiel 34, and tell me if all those books don't go together. And believe me, I'm not even smart enough to put them all together. I wanted to go to Genesis 15 and hopefully get it done what I felt like it was going to be a slam dunk, because I just felt like the Lord was going to show me. But the Lord had to get me to understand first who the actually strong man was first. Apply that to why a ram was used actually with Abraham and Isaac, and then show me in Genesis 15 why the ram was there, so I would get the hint that the other animals also meant something too. And since then, me sitting on this about 3 months, and I could, like I said, it's really been a lot of pressure the last couple of days to I need to go ahead and make this video. I didn't even want to do this video, but the Lord has just been dropping bombs and showing me so much stuff, because at first I was, concerned with the 400, because I'm a truther and I want everything to be pinpoint accurate. But the Lord is telling me that the information I did get was accurate, and I know people may not believe it, but when I had that thought in my head, the Lord had, I had the Spirit ask me, "What is your car?" And so about 3 months ago, I just picked up an Acura, and I never even considered what the name was. So when I looked up Acura, you'll find that the Aku is precise, and that the symbol is actually calipers. And we know that if you look on the internet, you'll find everybody and their mom that's basically explaining the Aku and calipers, but nobody ever goes into the Ra. But we know that's the sun. So what the Lord was telling me when I was told to go what type of card I'll have, it was like precise, son. So I'm over the worried about the 400. That's why I'm actually doing this video, and everybody can take it for what it's worth. The Spirit has also showed me some other things that I had never even imagined from there. The splitting of the animals is actually the menorah. So the Lord has also proven to me that anyone using the 8 or the 9 or whatever, however many numbers they have for the different menorahs, that they're using the wrong menorah. The menorah should actually be 7. But we're looking at half of the picture when we are looking at the menorah. But if you were to actually put 2 menorahs together, you would then get the wheels within the wheels, and the angels are those eyes, just like those flames fire that come down on the apostles in the book of Acts. So we're looking at the wheels within wheels with the angels all over, and that's why the Lord has also used the book of Ezekiel to explain what I was being taught in Genesis 15. I was even shown, if you want to say, other applications of it, and where I would have to say we would need to go to the story of Jacob wrestling the angel of the Lord. Now that was the start of Jacob actually binding the strong man. Remember, we said angel of the Lord, just like Yeshua was trying to say that God is the strong man. So that's what Jacob actually did when he wrestled with him all night. He was binding the strong man. And now, yes, I will say that there are earthly strong men, but there's spiritual strong men too. And just like in this case, if you do your reading back in Genesis 15, before God takes the flame through the animals, Abraham was driving, like it says, drove off the fowl. Well, just like in the book with Jacob, Jacob was sending his family in 3 different droves, just like the 3 different droves from the heifer the goat and the ram that the Lord was using. And then since Jacob was binding the strong man, he overtook and he bound the strong man on the earth, which was Esau. And again, if you want to say ironic or you believe in coincidence or anything else, that story, Esau was coming to him with 400 men. But what happened at the end of the story? Because Jacob bound the strong man, he went into the land of his father without any problem. All right, so for those that are listening, and hopefully you go open up the Bible and take a look at the few chapters. It shouldn't take you that long, especially since I laid some of it out there. Honestly, talked a little bit more than I even wanted to. This has been World's First Man with your host, Adam, my friends and family, also known as Ack. God bless. I'm out.